Hi everyone, Kim Siddons here, back again this week talking about posture. We're doing a Posture 101 module and specifically the 3 best exercises to reverse your posture or anti-slouching exercises. So I'm a physiotherapist, for those of you who don't know. I'm the founder of the Kim Siddons Physio business, where I'm empowering people towards health and wellness at their desk through posture education and exercise. And I hope what you can learn today will help you out in terms of feeling less pain and have more energy at your desk. So we've been talking in our workstation workout page this week about whether or not slouching really is that bad for you. So everyone talks about slouching and I was like, oh, don't slouch. Probably remember mum saying, sit up straight. Is it really that bad for you? And if so, why? Why is it bad or why is it not bad? So you probably have guessed, as a physiotherapist, yes, I'm passionate about teaching people that slouching is bad for you. We're really not that keen for you to spend lots of time putting pressure and strain on your body. So let's go through just a little bit of a recap as to why it's so bad for your body. So the first thing is that it puts a lot of strain on different structures in your spine. One of the main ones is your disc. People have probably heard about discs in your lumbar spine. So I'll have a little show of you so that you know what and where they are. Excuse my shorts, it is 40 degrees here still in Adelaide at the moment. So I'm showing a bit of leg today, I'm sorry, but excuse that. So if we come over here, I will show you a little bit of a glimpse of what a lumbar disc is. So we talked before about the structure of the spine, and in between our vertebra, we've got these little gel-like shock absorbers called discs. This is what they look like. Well, this is really not exactly what they look like in real life, but that's a bit of a model of what they look like. And they've got a bit of a jelly sort of core, and they really are quite good shock absorbers. Now, everybody's also probably heard a little bit about the pain and problems like sciatica, low back pain that occurs when you get injury to your disc, specifically bulging discs. Now, the thing with discs is, like any shock absorber, they function best when they've got a nice amount, or they're able to have a nice amount of balance through their structure. And if they spend most of their time with load in one particular direction, then that causes prolonged strain on that structure, and it's going to cause a breakdown, a deterioration in the integrity of the structure. In this case, it's the disc. So when we think about how we sit when we slouch, and I'll move the screen back here so you can see. If we slouch and spend a lot of time with our tail tucked under, like so, especially your tailbone tucked under and then your low back, and you're sitting at your desk away like this, and often we don't even realise it, but we probably all spend a lot more time slouching at a desk than we would like to or care to admit. Your nice S-bend curve in your back is tucked right under, and what that does is it starts to put pressure on the front of the disc so that it tends to bulge out the back. And when it bulges out the back, especially for long periods, that structure is really weakened, and you can sort of see the strain that it's causing. So we're really not that keen to spend a lot of time slouching because of our discs. All right, so moving right along, we've got many other structures in our spine that make up our spinal unit, but another structure is ligaments. And ligaments are like you probably, most people would know about ankle sprains, knee joint sprains, all sorts of ligament sprains. Our spine has ligaments as well. And when we sit in this curved posture, again with our tail tucked under, we're really hanging off our ligaments, especially up through here, and again down through this mid and lower back area. So if you're sitting at your desk, you might be typing away and concentrating on the screen, using your mouse. It sort of goes without saying that after a while, you're really, because you're very inactive and not using your muscles to straighten up, you are pretty much hanging off your ligaments. Now, could you imagine if you stood up and stood on the outside of your ankle for a long period? So if you turn your foot in so that you're sort of stressing the outside of your ankle, if you were to then stand at it or sustain that for any length of time, that would really hurt and wouldn't be very comfortable. And eventually the outside of your ankle would become weakened and you'd feel it and you'd get off it. Well, the thing with our spine is, because it's not right at the end of our movement range, we could probably double over a little bit further. We don't often become aware of it because we're still in that mid-range, even though it is a pretty nasty strain on our spine. We're not always made to be aware straight away. So we often spend a lot more time hanging off the ligaments in our back without being aware and before pain becomes really our prompt. Often we'll feel stiff, and that might become a bit of an indicator for you to think, oh golly, I've been here too long and I need to do something about how I'm positioned. But by the time you actually feel pain or stiffness, the damage is already being done, I'm afraid. So it's much better to be proactive and try and do, as I've taught you before, wiggle your bottom back in your seat, lean back into your backrest, bring the weight of your head back over your shoulders, and try and take the load off the ligaments in your spine. Your body will thank you very much for that. The other problem with prolonged ligament strain in this area is that the body starts to become stiffer and you start to develop arthritic changes. And everybody's probably noticed, elderly people specifically, that have started to become hunched forward in their posture and thought, oh golly, how did they ever get like that? Well, it starts early, and we don't notice all these little increments of stiffness and postural decline happening, and often if we don't do anything about it early enough, it becomes a little bit too late and it's super hard to reverse. So much better to be proactive. So that's why we're going through some exercises in a minute. But before we do that, the last structure that I was going to talk to you about today is the load on the postural muscles, our special core muscles in our back, that really get switched off. So that's the final thing I want to talk about, address with how bad slouching is for you. The fact that when you've sat in that position for any length of time, our core postural muscles are really they're not being encouraged to switch on, rather than being in a nice balanced position. So you can see with the spine in its S-bend that we've talked about before, the muscle system is quite balanced front and back. And so you've got a nice amount of muscles at the front, a nice amount of muscles at the back. And when you are maintaining your healthy curve in your spine, they will balance themselves out quite nicely. Of course, when your tail tucks under and the C curve happens, I talk about quite a bit, that balance is all put out of kilter, and all of a sudden these muscles at the front, as you're succumbing to gravity, start to develop a lot more stiffness and a lot more tightness, and these ones at the back tend to switch off even further. So you become in a bit of a cycle of weakness and tightness. Weakness at the back, tightness at the front, and as you sit there longer and longer, your muscles are less and less inclined to want to work to correct you. So you tend to get in this cycle of progressing more and more with gravity, and less unless you start to activate the right muscles, less likely to balance that out by using the muscles that actually support your spine and take the load off your structures. Okay, so let's get to it. Now that you've soaked up all that content, it was probably a bit hard going for this time of night, but we're going to get through to a couple of my favourite exercises for using the anti-gravity muscles, or your postural muscles, that are the best ones, or some of the best ones, to switch on to start to change up the way that you sit and strengthen your endurance for sitting in a good posture. Now, as I've mentioned before, it all starts with reminding yourself very often to sit with your bottom back in your chair, lean back in your backrest, and open out your chest. Bring the weight of your head back over your shoulders. That's a great place to start, because the first ones we're going to do, we're not even going to get out of our chair. That's the beauty of it. A lot of you will be sitting at your desks during the day, and if you've got a couple of little go-to things to do, voila, you can start to just intersperse little regular bits of exercise throughout your day to drastically change the way your muscle systems work. All right, so the first one we're going to do is just involving putting your hands, clasping your hands behind your head, leaning back into your backrest and opening out the front of your chest. So as long as it's comfortable, just take your elbows backwards, open out along the line of your collarbones, which is up through there. Okay. And now hold that and take a few deep breaths. And because we're actually involving your rib cage in this, so your rib cage attaches to this back part of your spine, you're really not only reversing that curvy part of your spine, but opening out the ribs as well. So you're providing an even bigger leverage to open out and reverse your posture. If you can hold it for a good 10 seconds and take a few deep breaths right down into the lower rib area, you might start to feel a pretty decent stretch there. As long as it's comfortable, you can actually take your arms a little bit further back and take a few more deep breaths and have a bit of a break when you feel you need to. You should be able to feel the muscles at the back of your shoulder blades working reasonably hard to bring your shoulders back, and a bit of a stretch at the front. Okay, so never push into pain. We're in it for the long haul with this sort of thing. So you want to just make sure that you keep these sorts of things up regularly and often throughout the day rather than try and force it all at once. Okay, so after you've done that, probably about 3 times, holding for a good 10 to 15 seconds, then you can release and we'll move on to the next one. Wiggling your bottom back in the chair again and thinking about having your nice wide, I call them smiling collarbones, because you take them up and back in a little bit of a smile, just a little, and holding them there. If you've got arms on your chair, I'll move back so you can see. Place your arms on your chair, your collarbones nice and wide, and with the weight of your head back over your shoulders, I don't want you doing it like this. You should be able to feel, let me show you, that you can use the muscles at the back of your shoulder blades as you lift up and do a little chair raise. Okay, now if you don't have arms on your chair, no problems. Put your hands into a bit of a fist, pop them down beside your hips, or a little bit probably behind your hips, but just behind your hips so that you can get your collarbones again nice and wide and smiling, weight of your head back over your shoulders, and you can just lift up from there and hold it. As you hold, and we're going to go aim for a 10-second hold if you can, you should be able to feel the muscles at the back of your shoulder blades and the muscles at the back of your arms starting to do some good work, and open your chest and reverse your posture. So for our last rep, I'll put my arms back where I had them before, because I've got arms on my chair, nice wide collarbone, weight of my head back over my shoulders, and I'm going to do a chair raise. So it's a little bit like a bit of a tricep exercise. Well, it is a tricep exercise, but rather than being a dip, we're doing a raise using the arms of our chair. And I just want to make sure that you don't do this. It's all about keeping your shoulder blades down and relaxed. And if you can't go that far, no problems. You just go as far as you can. Even getting yourself into that posture and taking a little bit of weight off your bottom makes a massive difference. Now, last one, I'm going to show you actually how to do a little bit of a Pilates type exercise to improve your posture. So I'm going to come forward from the front of my chair, and I would normally do this exercise with my hands leaning forward on my desk, but it's a little bit hard for you to see. So instead, I'll put my chair to the side and lock it against the side of the wall here. And with my collarbones in their nice wide position and my head nice and tall, I'm going to try and do like a Pilates exercise where you would actually stabilise through one arm and turn away with the other. Okay? I'm not sure if anyone's done that before, or maybe in an exercise class. It's a lot easier on your desk. My chair's a little bit wobbly, so it's quite hard work for me. But if you can get yourself into a position where you put some weight through your arms. Now, you want to make it as easy or as hard for you as you would like, but if I bring my legs in a little bit further and I have my feet hip width apart, that makes life a lot easier, and I can actually slowly take some weight through this arm, again, nice wide collarbones, and open up my chest and back down. Again, I'm going to do the other side now, so open up my collarbones, stabilise through my shoulder, and rotate to the other way and back down. And if you want to make it harder, you just take your feet back a little bit further. Open up your chest, turn away and back down. And we'll try one more on the other side. Take weight through your arm, open up your chest and back down. So as I said before, I would usually probably prefer to actually just stand leaning on my desk to do that one and open up that way and come down and try the other way. But it's a little bit tricky for me to show you there. So hopefully you've enjoyed just finding out a little bit more about some great ways you can switch on postural muscles at your desk. You don't even have to leave your workstation. And try and see if you can get a little bit more exercise in your day, start to move more regularly throughout your day, and use it as a bit of a prompt to then sit back down, wiggle back in your chair, lean back, and make sure you set yourself off for the next half hour or so in a great posture. Now, your challenge for this week is twofold. Firstly, I still want you to try and catch yourself in your slouching posture if you are, and I want you to try and 3 times a day intersperse some posture exercise, anti-slouching posture exercises, especially while you're sitting at your desk. If you're sitting at the couch watching this on Facebook at the moment, that's totally fine too. Just put your hands behind your head, start out, do some stretching with great muscle activation, and you'll find you feel a whole lot better. Now, I've still got a free video for you. Each week I've got something free up on my Facebook site. So if you would like to learn some more exercises, they're ones again that you can do at your desk, a little bit different to the ones we've done today. And some more low back and hip ones in there, and a little bit of a secret about the best way to boost your metabolism, your energy, and reduce your pain and stiffness sitting at your desk. Then there's just a little button at the top of the Facebook page you can click so that I can send you out that video, or you can go to the website and there's a little place where you enter your details to click so I can send you that video and I give to you. And I would love to inspire you to take more action towards health and wellness at your desk. So have a great weekend, and I will see you next week for some more posture advice.